Do you find yourself seeing the world in a way that others can't understand? Or maybe you feel like your gifts and talents aren't being put to their full potential? Maybe the people in your community are stifling those gifts. What do you want to show the world? In fact, maybe you've actually conquered these things and are ready to pass on this confidence and the energy that you found to others that feel this way. So if you feel like a rat in the kitchen, come join us as we discover the bold and unique flavors of Ratatouille.
Welcome to the Live a Meaningful Story podcast, where we explore connections between the movies we love and the stories we live. We are friends and colleagues with backgrounds in storytelling, filmmaking, teaching, and narrative therapy. Join us on our quest to unlock the power of storytelling for your life. I'm Derek Hatch.
My name is Nick Natal.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph Wilson.
I'm Jason Lynn. So guys, how do you feel about rats cooking up food?
The thought of it is disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. Joe and I have a propensity towards cleanliness.
I'd rather them be flying.
Yeah. What if rats flew and cooked food?
Yeah,
World domination.
I think the idea of this being they can never make this live action. They can never make this
no one will go.
Yeah, because the idea of and them actually walking in and seeing rats in it swarming the kitchen but making food, that'd make you throw up instantly.
See, this is the bigotry we have to combat.
I understand.
I mean,
this is a long way that we have to go.
The tagline is anyone can cook, and this actually is a good challenging way to challenges that thesis nicely.
So guys, that initial reaction that we had, channel that into how we view these humans in this movie.
Rat scurried into your kitchen. Would you greet it with a delicious glass of milk?
Oh my gosh, that's great.
No, you wouldn't.
Wait a minute. Wait, we have several times.
I don't know why you do, but you find them repulsive.
There's actually now 2 tie-ins to
from the previous episodes.
To Quentin Tarantino's movies.
Oh, feet? Is there another one with feet in here?
No, but technically, Remy wants to walk on 2 feet. That's more no.
Yeah.
So Remy's dad's name, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, so this is our part of our series of I Am The Protagonist, and I think this one is pretty obvious that I see a bit of myself in
this
Remy.
Is the most obvious one out of the 4 of us.
Yeah, and I'm finding out that a lot of the movies that I pick or that I come to adore have very similar themes, namely freedom and exploration. I think those are very, and liberation too is very important of that, but it's more of achieving the freedom and also exploring with that, and these two come very nicely together in this movie. But
yeah, I think just to kind of piggyback off that, I think, we've been doing this for over a year now in this format of the podcast. And I think you do get a sense from all of us of this is Joe's episode. Yeah. This is Jason's. This is Nick's, right? You kind of really do get to start to get those flavors there. And one of the things that I remember, thank you. It took you guys a second. At the retreat, one of the things I remember you kind of being amazed at was, so I told you this movie was directed by Brad Bird, who also directed The Incredibles, The Iron Giant. He had some help in the first season of King of the Hill. He was part of that. So first met you, Ratatouille was kind of the first movie that kind of came to mind about you because I met you as cooking. But I remember
he's ruining the soup.
But I remember how shocked I was.
Why you put all that paprika in there?
But I remember how shocked I was when you told me that Ratatouille was not your favorite Pixar film. It was actually WALL-E. Now, one of the things I did look up was that Andrew Stanton, the guy who directed WALL-E, was also part of Ratatouille. He was not the director, but he was a producer on it.
Quality.
So, I thought that was really cool.
Okay. These are people with excellent senses of taste and smell. Clearly.
Yeah.
Just like our protagonist, Remy, the rat. People call him Ratatouille, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, I did for a long time.
Yeah. It's no, that's not his name.
It's actually Emile.
Dude, Emile is what 75% of everything that goes wrong is tied to Emile in this movie. The boy with the curly hair, his name is Alfredo Linguini. Which is just pasta man.
So wait a minute.
And he's bad at cooking.
Are you telling me we picked 2 movies for I Am The Protagonist with a character named Alfredo? That is amazing.
That's funny.
We picked.
It's funny how
we picked 3 movies with Italian food.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Yeah, no, that is insane. But anyways, let's get into the initial reactions of watching this movie. Because this is clearly your first time watching this for everyone. right?
Clearly.
What did you guys think about rewatching this movie?
It is always good to rewatch this movie. It's a nice movie to watch. Again, like I watched it with Nancy, so watching it with her is even funnier because it was her first time seeing it.
Oh,
And she's just like, ugh. Just the idea of a rat cooking. But she's like, yeah, I can see that this is a Jason movie. But yeah, again, our movies are very similar of like accepting oneself or wanting others and especially fathers to accept. So I always get a bit teary-eyed because again, it's a father movie and those always get me. So yeah.
When this movie first came out, I avoided it because I'm like, that's rats cooking. No, thank you.
That's so
Not
funny.
interested at all in that
Can
story.
read half the letterbox
That's
comments.
a perfect story.
Yeah.
But years later,
Genius idea.
But years later, I did watch it, and my initial reaction the first time I saw it many years ago was, this is prestigious Pixar. It is. I think Ratatouille and WALL-E, they came out back to back,
Yeah.
right? I
Would you
was
consider
like,
Up?
yeah. Up came after
Yep.
WALL-E.
Yeah.
So I would say those three films are like prestige Pixar.
Mhm.
Because I'm not a big Pixar fan, to be honest.
Really?
No.
Mm.
I think it's all the same movie. But I think these three movies, I mean, I like other ones too. I think The Incredibles was a good stepping stone towards this.
Best Fantastic Four movie yet.
And
yeah, actually, yes.
Yeah.
But yes.
Actually, yes.
But
Mhm.
I think these three movies, they elevate it to another level. And Ratatouille really was the start of that. And so I like it, especially the second half of this movie. First half of the movie's okay for me, but the second half of this movie, I love.
Yeah.
Love the second half. And I think the ending, like from like a writer's point of view, it is like one of the most well-written, well-crafted like pieces of monologue that I've ever heard in an animated film. It's almost too good for it. But
Give
at the same
me
time, I'm so glad it's here.
Perspective. That's what I want.
Everything
A
with the
full
critic.
course meal of
Easily.
perspective.
Easily my favorite
Fresh out.
character.
Well,
Mm.
you give me the food,
Mhm.
and I'll provide the perspective. Tell Linguini to serve me whatever he dares. Like it's
So
so
good.
good.
It is.
What about you, Nick?
I love it. I think WALL-E is top tier, and I think
Mhm.
Ratatouille is right behind it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
it finishes strong where Up kind of falters.
Yes.
But Up has this huge peak, but Ratatouille all the way through is almost
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the kitchen, something I'm familiar with, so the whole
Yeah.
environment is fun. And there's just this sense of like this pleasantness and like this sense of pleasure
Mhm.
in Ratatouille that is also communal.
Mhm.
Like it's a shared pleasure around food. So I really enjoy Ratatouille.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, even with the
That
kitchen
is
stuff
really
too.
good.
Like I can connect to that too because
Yeah.
I served it.
All
as
the
well.
all the cooks are happy in
Yeah.
the kitchen. You look at them; they're like Laylo's dancing. The
And
other
they're a
ones are just
team.
kind of like
Yeah.
they're a team. They come together. It's think about that. And as you guys talk, I think I
That's an
like the
idealistic
ending more.
version of the kitchen.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah,
because
It's
that's
not
not what
like
happened.
Yeah,
That ain't
Not at first, aren't they? Like
But-
hating each other. at
But
first?
Colette is the one that like starts yelling at Linguini about how hard it is in the kitchen, and she like brings the reality down. Like
Mhm.
yeah.
you cannot be mommy.
Mhm.
Like you can't take your time. Like stuff is hard in
Yeah.
this place.
Yeah.
There's pressure.
Yeah, there
the,
is.
The food critic. Also, there's a guy that comes in the restaurant that looks like the food critic. And there's someone at work. There's someone at work
That's
that
funny.
always like points him out. He's back. He's the food critic from Ratatouille.
Mhm.
It's pretty funny.
That's so good.
Okay, this movie is becoming better in my mind as I think about all these things. But yeah, so what were you gonna ask me?
Oh, you're gonna do the letterbox and then we'll jump in?
Yeah, let's do the
Do the
letterbox.
letterboxed.
He's dying to become a chef. Remy, a resident of Paris, appreciates good food and has quite a sophisticated palate. He would love to become a chef so he can create and enjoy culinary masterpieces to his heart's delight. The only problem is Remy is a rat. When he winds up in the sewer beneath one of Paris's finest restaurants, the rodent gourmet finds himself ideally placed to realize his dream.
Whoever gets paid to write these letterbox
They need to get
thing
some-
tags,
They need a Christmas bonus.
they actually like fit so well like with the movie tonally, you know?
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah. But
I've
so
been under Paris this entire time. Yeah.
that's funny.
That's cool.
So yeah, I don't really care about going over the plot bit by bit.
Quick side note: Jason has this ranked 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
What?
It's a good movie. That's a 7. That's a 7 out of 10.
Bro, I gave it an 8.
I'm going back and giving it an 8 because I'm thinking about more. No. You don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do.
called him out on it.
Because now, no, it's not. I already said, you rewind the tape. I already said that as I'm thinking about this now, it's getting better in my mind. I just said that. You can rewind, audience, to where I said that. So I put it at 4.5. And then I watched it and went, it's a good movie, but there's not much there. And I went to 3.5. I'm going on a journey. So watch the journey as it unfolds in front of your eyes.
Hey, to be fair, I think with all 4 of our movies, we went on a journey this time.
Yes. So now I'm thinking about all these details that I did not see at the time because I'm listening to you guys talk. Thank you, community. And there's way more going on in this movie than I'm giving credit for. And it's going to get credit now. So, as I said, I don't really care much about going plot for plot point. There are 4 themes, maybe 5 if one develops, that I really want to touch on, and I'll say them just to keep us accountable to them.
Okay.
And these are the themes that I'm getting that are strong in this movie. So one is I see animal versus humanity. You know, what makes us animalistic versus what makes us human.
Hey, back to Mononoke.
Yeah. And really that comes in survival versus artistry is how I see that theme. The next, who you're supposed to be versus who you are. The thought that an artist can come from anywhere and criticism.
Thank you for making this easy to create the chapters.
Yeah, we're just gonna set it right there. And perception or even perspective is actually kind of a baby theme. It's throughout. But those are kind of what we're going to get into.
All right, bet.
And this also has a personal place. And I guess I'll start with that. So I really feel like my neuroticism for cooking and really in the coding of it, precision and beauty is found in Remy. Remy is neurotic about food the way I am. I'm like, oh man, this cheese and the mushroom and these rosemary and
I literally
saffron,
put that in
we
my
gotta have
notes.
this.
God.
Yeah, I said I put when Remy is explaining the ingredients to his brother, I said this is Jason explaining the ingredients. It's like this is it just needs a little bit of this. If we smoked it up on the top, but I love seeing the excitement because that's literally how. Like,
God
what
forbid you
like.
put the wrong ingredient with Jason.
Well, it depends, and this is why I love cooking. It's so beautiful because failure isn't always permanent in cooking.
Yeah.
You can get around it. Javaris, I was cooking beefaroni with him. I tell this story all the time. And I went to go and grab and put a bunch of cumin in the beefaroni sauce, and it was cinnamon. And I was like, oh no. And so I scrambled. I just added what I could and try to counteract. I didn't tell him. I just handed him the bowl, and I'm like, hey, dude, how is it? And he goes, thumbs up. I never told him what happened. And since then, I've been just adding cinnamon in my food sometimes as a joke and giving it to people and not telling them about it. So
be careful. He may just put stuff in your food that you don't know.
Spiked it with cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon. It's chemical X, guys. But that's life. Failure isn't final. Like sometimes it's inspiration to something new, and that's very beautiful. But Remy sees food and he sees possibility. He says ideas. This could be better.
Yeah.
This could taste better. There's more like beauty in this than we're giving credit. Like what can we do? And it's just and directly for me it is cooking. It can be in artistry and other things or other trades, but directly I relate to the cooking aspect. And you guys have had my food. You can be honest. Like, do you taste that?
What,
whenever,
like with your
like
food?
in my cooking, yes.
Oh yeah, with your food, there's not food I really taste. Like it's a whole separate side of like the food that I taste. Like it's basic, and then it's Jason's food.
Oh
yeah, so
you need to get out more because there's other better food too.
Well, but like yours is so much more personable.
Okay.
Yeah, your food is very like specific. You're doing this because you want us to experience a specific taste. Or you want us to experience something that you're trying to show us. So that's why I love your cooking, because it's not just you're cooking to cook for us. You're cooking for us to experience something as well.
Yeah, and I keep you guys. I keep the enjoyer in mind too, because I remember there's some people that, I have a traditional chocolate peanut butter square thing that I make, and Abby is allergic to peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I do? I don't make it? No, I love making this. So we're going to use almond butter now. And now I have something new to make and something to experience. And it was for someone, and I have to give credit to Nick. My first year, Project 516, I went to JH Outback, and I got a letter from this guy, and he said that cooking is a metaphor for love. And that's something that I felt, but I didn't have the words, and you put it to words, and it was very beautiful. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But it is. And so Remy has this passion, and he has this thing that he sees that no one else is really seeing. His father doesn't see it. His brother is knows it, and Remy can be himself in front of Emile, but he doesn't get it, and he doesn't understand. And that's kind of so in my life. The twist is that my dad is who I learned cooking from. And I think he had that spark at some point, but he looks and is like, you shouldn't, there's no money in that. Why are you doing that? Go do that. Why don't you do this? And why don't you go learn computer engineering? Or why don't you should have done marketing? And there's a lot of things that he's focused on survival. And I am out here teaching kids how to cook.
Which is actually probably the most important thing for survival.
Yeah. Which it's for survival, but it's not for my survival that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good segue into the animal survival versus the human artistry that's at play here. So there's the rats. They survive. They're not picky. They keep going. They don't leave the nest. They only make it bigger. So that is one side. And there's the human artistry. There's the creativity. Let's go explore. And there's new. But there's another darkness in that too. And that's Anton ego. I think we'll get to him later. But this is the elitism. So there's mediocrity is okay, but you don't need to go beyond it. Just eat what's in front of you and keep on going, survival. And there's the anything short of perfection and the highest heights is
if I
junk.
Don't like it, I don't swallow.
If I don't love it, I don't swallow.
Love it.
I don't like food, I love it. So there's these two sides that are fighting.
Yeah.
And there are rats in the kitchen already, guys. And Anton Skinner, For those that don't know names, the short, angry chef guy with the big hat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fumbo.
So Chef Skinner.
What are you doing in here?
Right. But that's the thought.
Yeah.
But it's not a gatekeeping of, artistry. It's get this guy out. He's threatening my survival. So Chef Skinner has taken Gusteau's name and he's not going outside of anything, right?
Yeah.
He's
capitalizing.
Try not to make this a monologue. Hold on. But he's capitalizing on it, right? He's survival. He doesn't care about going new.
I wouldn't even say it's survival. He's just trying to take the legacy of what used to be and in a way, not kind of tarnish it in a sense or use it for his own gain.
Well, he's not rising above mediocrity.
Yeah.
He's turning into a frozen food
American
industry.
thing.
Yeah. And the other guy he's pitching the corn dog thing to, he's like, what's a corn dog? And he's like, it's American coated and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Put his big, fat, happy face on it and sell it.
So can I say something?
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things that you're helping me to see with this movie is that and there are people like this in real life. Food is just fuel to them.
Yes.
That's all it is. And then there's other people where it's like the art and the finesse of cooking, right? And it's a beautiful thing when you can see it as an art form.
Yes.
So with the relationship between Remy and his dad, that's the tension that's there, right?
That's the exact tension. And Remy's dad says those words verbatim.
Right.
Food is fuel. If you get picky what you put in the tank, your engine's going to die.
Yeah.
But
shut up and eat your garbage.
Yeah.
But that's also, in a weird way, the relationship between Linguini and Skinner.
Yeah. Okay.
Because think about it. Linguini, once he starts to innovate, yes, obviously with the help of Remy, but once he starts to innovate and to create, Skinner's initial reaction is to shut it down because he is moving away from the artistry. He's lost that passion that Gusteau, his partner, had for the love of food.
Yeah.
And now he's entered Remy's dad's frame of mind of like, well, we're just going to put out food
Mhm.
that's just
Even
fuel,
if it's garbage,
Yes.
right?
even if
Yes.
it's garbage.
So I never
Yeah.
realized that
They're the same person.
Yeah.
yeah.
I put that on my notes. They're the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome because you see with Linguini and Remy that they are both on a journey together and they've both got the different voices on each side.
Mhm.
One is hopeful in that Remy's dad eventually comes around and sees things and Skinner doesn't for
Yeah.
the most part.
It's funny because it's different because Remy actually has great skill and talent, but Linguini does not. He is not talented and not gifted in the kitchen with cooking at all.
Mhm.
And Remy isn't this aspirational character to start out with. He is trying to be accepted for who he is and what he wants to do, but he just wants that. He's not thinking about others because his thought projection of Linguini is or of Gusteau is like, oh, well, what about him? And Remy's like, him? Oh, he's just a garbage boy or a plongeur or something. And Gusteau is like, well, hey, what do I say? Anyone can cook. Yeah, but not everyone should.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so there's this playing of that line that Gusteau says that is very interesting, that anyone can cook. They wrestle with that throughout the movie, and they eventually land at the end of what that means,
Mhm.
and we'll get to that later. But
So here's my one criticism with this movie.
Oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
Because it comes out of what you just said there, right? So the problem is that anyone could cook. So Linguini can cook with Remy doing it, essentially.
it's
But
like
Linguini cannot actually cook on his own.
Mhm.
And that kind of refutes that purpose to me.
So that was the 3.5.
Okay, so you saw that too then.
But I'm changing it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's in one of the
Tell
themes.
me why.
Because, like I said, we're playing with that, with what the meaning is throughout the movie. We're wrestling with it. What
Mhm.
did Gusteau mean when he said anyone can cook?
Mhm.
And so, and getting back to the survival and mediocrity versus like artistry, the animal and the human. We're seeing this at play. Like we said, Skinner, he just wants to do the frozen food. He's
Mhm.
using the name. He's not getting bold and creative. And then there's Colette. And Colette's interesting because she stands by that anyone can cook,
Yes.
giving him a chance, and she teaches him. She's actually teaching him. Remy's not teaching him.
Yeah.
She is teaching Linguini, and she's teaching Remy at the same time,
Yeah.
unbeknownst.
Right.
But what does she say? She said, you have to be bold, you have to be adventurous and daring. But she's also saying, stick to the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
But you just said, no. Gusteau's job was to be bold and daring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your job.
Our job is follow the recipe.
Yeah.
And in a kitchen, like Nick, dude, when someone asks for something, the cook's not going to get creative all at the last second. They're going to go by the recipe, what's ordered,
Mhm.
and that makes sense, right? Because Gusteau is the creative, artist, the generative force in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But Gusteau's dead. Gusteau's in the ground. He's not making anything new from there. So that restaurant has stagnated and has become the rat mentality of we just do what Gusteau did, and the customers know that because they want something new.
Yeah.
Oh, but they liked linguine soup. They want food from Linguini. But it's gone down because when Gusteau died, the artistry died.
Mhm.
They just follow the legacy of a dead man, and they don't take it any further. Colette is the example. She loves it, appreciates it, but she just sticks to the recipe. And Remy doesn't want to do that. Remy is the force that's bringing the artistry and the life back into this restaurant, and it takes off, and it's beautiful.
Well,
And
because
the rats represent it's not about necessarily rats and people. It's
Yeah.
about animalism. I'm just gonna eat, sleep, and you know what, and just get through life and just carnally enjoy and keep going forward. And it's funny because you listen to people and go, "Oh, he's a beast, man. Oh, he's an animal." And there's all these words of like just people almost want to only do what, like, I could point out and be
It's
like,
easy.
it's easy. It's just, yeah, like the way that I've heard people describe their lives sometimes, just being out in the world. I go, you just kind of sound like an animal, and we've made that a good thing. Oh yeah, he's like, but you just sound like a human version of an animal. There's nothing added, there's nothing left. It's just you're going to leave and you're going to die. And part of that is not just getting out of mediocrity, but being on the lookout for artistry in other places outside of yourself. It's not just a self-focus of what can I do and what do I want to show the world. What do other people want to show the world and what do they want to show me? And there has to be a community in this. And the thing that's different, the Lord gave us the gifts of trades, right? Of smithing, of crafting, of cooking. All these great flavors exist in nature, like herbs. Crazy, crazy, crazy concept. Plants exist that just add spice to meat from a cow. These things don't interact.
Yeah.
Heat, herbs, and meat don't interact in the wild. It doesn't make sense for flavor, right? But it works and it's beautiful and there's so many possibilities in that. And that's part of what I see is that there's an artistry and there's an architecture and engineering. That's why I like Animals and Birds so much. It's art and engineering blended in life, isn't it? So that's the difference between this mediocre, just going and doing what's normal and basic, and then you have to go and rise out of that into seeing the beauty and expressing it because that's creation, that's life.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think you really see is you have a lot of great innovators that start with a person, they start with an idea, it becomes a company, but then that innovation halts because we become more concerned about preserving the tradition or conserving something rather than innovating or progressing towards something, right? And so I think that's the stagnation that Gusteau's is experiencing. And the spirit of Gusteau, whether it's a figment of Remy's imagination, whatever, somehow that spirit of Gusteau is alive in Remy, and it's trying to provoke that. It's trying to bring that out in the most unlikeliest of places. And that's a metaphor, I think, for a lot of underdog stories that start off in the most unlikeliest of places. But it's through there. I mean, I guess that's kind of how dire the situation is, right?
Yeah.
But that's also at the same time, again, testament to anyone can cook. So I think that's beautiful. I still think the one thing this movie's missing, though, is it is missing a moment where Linguini actually takes what Colette and Remy are sharing and actually can do something on his own. Because I have a little bit of a tragic, sympathy for him by the end of the movie. Because the movie ends and I'm like, but what did Linguini what did he discover about himself through this, right? Is it managing this business? Is it running the business? It might be, but the movie doesn't explore that with him, right? What is it that Linguini has discovered? So if anyone can cook, but he's not the cook. Well, we kind of don't know where he is at the end of the movie, do we?
We do. I have a combat to this.
Okay, yeah, please, because I'm struggling to see with his character.
Yeah, because my thought was this movie gives a great idea and just abandons it, drops it. I'm like, what are they doing? That was the 3.5. I'm like, what are we doing with this? And I think now, because this is a burning question, we can get into an artist can come from anywhere. So we're gonna switch what I was gonna go into. So anyone can cook, and it's actually the one who unlocks the meaning of this is Anton. So this guy's name is Anton Anton Chigurh. That's funny. Wow. I need to put Ratatouille and No Country for Old Men up there on my favorites now. next to each other. So
Top
Anton Ego, his last name is Ego, representing the imperialistic elite of cooking, of snobbery, of artistry, is excellent or it is junk. So we're going to read the last half of his quote first, and then later we're going to go to the first half.
Amazing monologue.
Yeah.
Amazing.
In the past, I made no secret of my disdain for Chef Gusteau's famous motto, anyone can cook. But I realize only now do I truly understand what he meant. Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It is difficult to imagine more humble origins than those of the genius now cooking at Gusteau's, who is, in this critic's opinion, nothing less than the finest chef in France. I will be returning to Gusteau's soon, hungry for more. So, there's a key word that changes Anton ego in this story.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the word humble.
Mhm.
So it's humility. He's not served this grand, like, aspiration of a dish, which is what he's critiquing all the time and saying,
Mhm.
you think this is great? This is nothing. He asks for perspective. They call him the Grim Eater in the movie. That's his title.
That's funny.
If you notice, his living room is shaped like a coffin.
Mhm.
And his typewriter, I think, looks like a skull. It has like like death is all in this.
Yeah.
So it's funny because ego is the death of artistry.
Mm-hmm.
Ego is the death of innovation and a death of the new. And this might actually go hand in hand with a criticism bit. So we'll work it together. So he only wants the superior. But what is he handed a plate of?
Like a peasant food.
Ratatouille. It's called a
Yeah.
peasant's dish. You want to serve him that? And Remy puts a spin on it and he serves he serves Anton and Skinner,
Yeah.
unbeknownst,
Mm-hmm.
Ratatouille. And they both are like, huh? And they're taking it back. But Antoine eats it and it reminds him of his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Humility. He's a child. He's not some critic. He has no name. All he has is his mom and a rough day at home.
Yeah.
Or a rough day out. You know, his bike was broke. I can't remember.
He scraped up his knee.
Scraped up his knee.
Yeah.
It's just a child who is greeted by his mom in a
Yeah.
warm cooked meal. And it took him back to that. And that was an anchor that he lost.
Mm.
Low
And
key,
it's-
that moment reminded me of the menu when the chef
Menu.
eats
The
the
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger.
That is the
and brought
cheeseburger.
back. I
That's-
was like,
That's
man,
awesome.
yeah.
Wow, I really like that, Derek. That's cool. I gotta think about that. But it snaps him back to his humanity. And there is a death. And it's his ego. His
Mhm.
ego
Yeah,
dies.
his ego dies.
And it's funny because so does Chef Skinner's. He's this sous chef under Gusteau, now chef of Gusteau's. He just becomes a common man, just a random raven dude in a trench coat and a beret.
Mhm.
And so this movie is about humility and how not everyone is going to be a great cook or a good cook, but it can come from anywhere.
Mm.
And so Linguini is not supposed to be a good cook
Mm.
because it's thwarting that thing that the idea that Gusteau's son should be able to cook.
Mhm.
The movie works better if Linguini can't cook because it drops that idea on
He
its head
becomes
of
a server.
Yeah.
he's a server. He's good with people.
He's in his element when he's actually the server.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
skating. He
Mhm.
feels more free.
He's good at roller skating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be great at Sonic.
Yeah.
But but so his journey hasn't begun yet. It's starting. He doesn't know who he is. He just knows I've failed every job and my mom's gonna get me in somewhere.
He's Willie.
Stranger Than Paradise.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
he's
So
Willie.
so
His
he
story's just getting going here.
yeah, and he's letting what he thinks he's supposed to do control him.
Mhm.
And he doesn't know who to listen to. He's impressionable. He hasn't found his thing yet. Until the end, we just see the inkling of a start of a journey. And in a humble place, Remy has the skill to be the finest chef in France. He's not, and he doesn't become it.
Mhm.
They have a little small restaurant that's doing well,
Mhm.
and it's humble. Anton comes as a guest, not a critic,
Yeah.
to enjoy food, to have surprise me
Mhm.
is what he
Yeah.
tells. Surprise me.
Mhm.
And we're just gonna mash all these themes
He's-
together.
he has-
Everything
First of all,
feels
that's
free by
sick.
the end.
That was amazing.
He has his love for his passion again. It's
Yeah.
not just a job. It is what he first started off probably doing.
Mhm.
Probably didn't start off like this because again, when he had the meal, it brought him back to his childhood memory of
Mhm.
eating.
Yes.
So again, he probably grew up with that passion of food, but has lost it throughout the years, and that brought him back
Yeah.
to his roots.
So he says, "Surprise me."
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's so poignant. He says, "Surprise me." He's embracing the new. And what does criticism do? It doesn't embrace the new. It
Mhm.
suppresses.
Mhm.
It suppresses the new. It says, "No, this is it." And where do we see criticism? Skinner, Remy's dad.
Yeah.
They shut down the new. Colette says, no, we do tradition.
Mhm.
We do, this is what works. We follow the recipe. There's no innovation. So Anton is the critic. He is the embodiment of Remy's dad's criticism, of Colette's, of Skinner's.
Mhm.
He's the elitism that shuts down. And this is the first half of his quote. It's getting very circular. This is fun. In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little,
Mhm.
yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and themselves to our judgment. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. But the bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. But there are times when a critic truly risks something, and that is in the discovery and defense of the new. The world is often unkind to new talent, new creations. The new needs friends. So Anton ends his arc being a friend of the new.
Mhm.
And so that is so the embrace of new things, of I can be surprised, of the embracing of anyone could be a cook, anyone can be an artist, anyone can direct a movie, anyone can be an engineer, anyone can teach anything. The embrace of that, I can be surprised by someone else, and that humility in ourselves of that destroys the criticism, that destroys the ego, that can stifle someone who wants to be like Remy and show the world what they see.
I like what you said a bit ago, that the critic almost amends Gusto's original philosophy.
Yeah.
Because anyone can cook. I don't know if I fully agree with that. Maybe. But
It's not everyone, it's anyone.
anyone. Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. But I do think that the amendment he makes about a great artist can come from anywhere.
So new and fearlessness are alien to the animal world. We're going back to that thought. New fearlessness, because fear is what keeps animals alive.
Yeah.
Remy's dad's fear as a clan leader is keeping their nest bigger, and it's keeping all the rats alive. And Gusteau talks about what a cook must be. You must be imaginative, strong-hearted. You must try things that might not work, and you must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
Mhm.
And so the fearlessness in the new is what drives innovation, drives discovery, creation. Remy says that about the humans. He said, I don't know, there's something about them. They
Yeah.
discover, they create. Just look what they do with food. And so that's what sparks Remy's curiosity. And that's what sparks mine. And that's what I am trying to teach kids about, is not just cooking, but what I want to teach kids and what I want to teach people in general is how to learn. I want to teach kids how to learn, how to understand. And it's starting to work with my mentee because he's asking questions. You ask him what he wants to do, he's got 4 things. He wants to play football, he wants to train dogs and be a veterinarian, he wants to be a fisherman, and he wants to be a cook. Or actually, one of those things isn't right. And he wants to play lacrosse professionally. He's got 4 things he wants to do. He'll ask and try to learn. And whenever he would ask me, this is a practical application, whenever this kid asks me a question, and this can be whenever we ask a question about something, I go, I don't know. Let's answer it now. People ask me, how do you know so much about birds? Because I looked at them and went, what is that? And then I didn't just leave and go, I don't know what that is. I said, okay, let's go to Google. White, tall bird, long neck, point, and I found it out right then and there.
You have an iPhone now, so you could just point it.
It was fine when I had a Google Pixel 3. No. So
No.
So the reason why I'm laughing is because
I want to hear
do
this.
do you guys go back and listen to our old episodes at all?
Occasionally.
Okay. So we're starting to get back into your Wally episode for me. Like you're almost starting to say verbatim, right? Like things you said a year ago on that episode.
Oh yeah, they hold each other's hand.
Well, and here's the funny thing I realized as you were going back there, I was like, you could take Ratatouille's like infatuation with humans, and you could pair that up with the captain rediscovering like what humans are capable of, right?
That is,
and they sit
Ratatouille's infatuation.
Yeah, he did. Remy's.
Remy.
Oh yeah, sorry. You know what
Thanks
I
for
mean.
catching that,
Remy's.
guys.
Hang on.
Remy's.
The door. Sorry, Derek.
Wow, someone else got it besides me. I'm constantly being ushered out of the room, guys. So it feels
Remy
good.
and the captains, right? So I think that's really fascinating because it feels like you've come back full circle in a way. from Wall-E, but now you've got like another layer. I mean, you've got a layer of things brought on by all your movie picks, right? With Howls, with American Psycho, with One Flew, with They Live, like all these different things. And now you come back and we're kind of talking about like the monomyth, right? We go in a circle, we come back. But now like hearing you a year later share these things, I feel like I have such a more well-rounded picture of who you are as you're articulating these ideas. So that's just awesome. That's just what I'm taking in as I'm listening to you. So.
Thank you. And a part of my my urgency, the thing that kind of pops me up in my seat is that I'm moving past the I want people to see the world the way I see it because I want to be understood. That's passing.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I want you to see the world the way I see it. Not that this is the truth, but there's something that is important that should be seen like in for yourself, for your own sake. I want you to see this stuff
Yeah.
because I want people to move out of just the like we go back to Tree of Life, like the natural, just the base, keep going survival.
Yeah.
Not to knock Tree of Life's interpretation of it, but like just the autopilot, right? The mediocrity, the keep going to survival, that is auto. And again, the charge is to live out of that, right? Like, and we talk about Christ. Christ died, there's a death, and we are resurrected into eternal life with him if we accept him as a savior. And that's like the same thing as like we have to put away this and go see grace. Yeah. Right. And that's with like literally just that about Christ, but there's also just that in life and in ourselves. Are we just doing day-to-day survival and then seeing others and dismissing and criticizing? Or are we living a full life and seeing the beauty that other perspectives, other people have to offer? And so I want to kind of go to you guys and be personal, if you don't mind getting personal.
Yeah.
And these themes, the survival versus artistry, we touched on it, the who you're supposed to be versus who you are. I think we've kind of wrapped up all the stuff about it, but Remy is a rat. He's born, his dad is saying, you do this is who you are, and this is who these people are. Where you're from, it defines who you are and what you do, right? And clearly the theme in this is who you are is who you are. Discover that. So that theme, the survival versus artistry, the artist can come from anywhere, and the criticism and all the other stuff that you guys might see that I don't. What have you seen in your life or in life in general that you can relate to with this movie?
I think besides the father and son relationship, it's just the fact that anyone can aspire to like accomplish their dreams, you know? Because Remy's dream is to be a great chef. He doesn't necessarily become one, but it's the journey that has brought him to it, and it's made him realize that this is something I can do, and I just need to be more confident in myself. So yeah.
I was thinking, can animals have courage? Is that a human trait?
It is a human trait.
So it's not necessarily the fearlessness, because I was thinking about that. I wrote down the fearlessness and the new drive, discovery, and just this idea of fearlessness. I think as humans, we're going to have that, but it's the courage in the face of fear. And so just kind of hearing that an artist can come from anywhere to embrace the new idea of humility from the critic and from the food, and how like you can touch the inner child of somebody, and it's not necessarily this grand dish that keeps getting criticized, but it's a lot simpler and more profound. I thought it was really cool. I'm not sure about Linguini yet. He found something that he's good at. I'm not sure how the characters relate personally to me yet, but those are the themes of courage and fearlessness, and the courage that makes us human, not the lack of fear.
Yeah.
I think that's very important because fearlessness is an absence, but courage pushes forward in spite of. So,
which I'm not sure animals can do. And then you also said that fear keeps us alive. So the animals,
fears keep animals alive.
Yeah, it's just to survival, and without courage, that fear keeps us within the ego or in place, not in a sense of discovery or growth. So that comparison to the animal was really interesting to me.
I think for me, the peasant dish of ratatouille that inspires the critic. That's like showing Nick The Last Jedi and him thinking it's amazing.
Nobody wants to embrace the new.
That is, there we go.
I had it in my head 3 different times. I was like,
Yeah.
Nah.
I was like, there's a Last Jedi in here.
That's so funny.
I knew
Let
it.
the
I could
past
feel it.
die.
That's the thing. I was like, he's not saying it, but I'm going to say
It's
it.
so funny. There's tradition and there's
Mhm.
creative inspiration. And sometimes when they meet, rats die. There's death.
Also, the new needs friends. That's
New
all I
needs
wrote that
friends.
down too.
No, it's more like the ratatouille, right? It's a peasant dish,
Oh,
but there's a twist on
Oh.
it, and it touched something in Nick, right? And I think that's awesome because I think like it's so easy.
It's awesome
But-
that you
but
got
you don't
this
like it.
peasant meal.
So disrespectful.
yeah, it was.
That was such a back.
There wasn't humility to that.
Yeah.
But the end of The Last Jedi touches the childhood and the theme and the whole thing of Star Wars.
Mhm.
So there is something there
Mhm.
because that brings it all back. And it was not what the critic was expecting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not just talking about Nick when I say this though, because I too like. I'm serious.
I know.
I know.
I'm
peasant
still
meals.
laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I too like peasant meals.
And that's great. That's so good for you.
Yeah.
That's good for you. I like my
That's
peasant.
cute. That was
Yeah.
a step away from that's cute.
Mhm.
I like my peasant food, but in all
In all
But-
seriousness.
But what I'm trying to say is that, like, in terms of the critic, it's so easy to get jaded about certain things. It's so easy to be critical of so many things, right? I think one area that I don't talk about on this podcast much that I get really critical about is music.
Okay.
Because music hasn't really like sparked much in me, like newer music that's come out over the years. But every once in a while, you do find that song that touches something deep within you, touches something about reminding you of a time long ago, when you weren't as jaded, and it opens you up to that. In a time when I feel like Nick and I have had lots of conversation about this, where I feel like innovation in the arts is lacking in a lot of ways. When you do find that thing that touches you and moves you, I relate to that aspect of the critic, when you're able to find that thing and you find it in the most unlikeliest of places. Well, because you want innovation, right? And the critic is hungry for that, like literally and metaphorically. He's hungry for that innovation.
And yet,
And it comes, but not in a way that you would expect, or from Gusto's, the place that's sold out, from Ratatouille, the
Mhm.
peasant dish.
and sometimes critics, they want innovation, but they want
From The Last Jedi.
so sometimes critics want innovation
Uh-huh.
and they want new, but they go, no, but not like that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And they want something new in a way that's traditional and they're used to. So they don't really want
It's like-
something new.
it's
They
like the
want what
Superman
they
trailer
want
kind
to
of
be
what we were
done.
talking about too.
And
yeah.
it's
Oh.
selfish. It's like I just
That's
want what
good,
I
yeah.
think should happen.
That's
Say
good
it
though.
again.
Selfish. I like that.
And
though.
it's selfish. So and that's something that needs to die. That ego death has
let
to
the,
happen.
let the past
You're
die.
just setting him up now.
Yes, it's fun. I like this.
You are setting him
It's
up.
also who I am.
What
I like
else?
mischief.
What else
The
needs to
truth
die?
is
Let me
fun.
guess. The past.
The past
truth-
needs to die.
The truth is fun.
But
Well-
yeah, no, there's a lot. Also, this has no great meaning at all. But Remy's dad's name is Django, which is
That's
hilarious.
great for Joe.
It
He's
has
ne-
all the meanings.
It's never named in the movie. He just we'll just call him Django.
It's
So
the fact that he is named Django. Django.
We'll get right back to the conversation in just a moment. But first, it is a brand new year. It is a new chapter in your story. If you listen to this podcast, it is probably fair to assume that you are a story enthusiast to some degree. And the thing that I love about the art of storytelling is that it's not just confined to the films that we discuss here. It's a reality that impacts our daily lives because we are all living out a story. And as the title of this podcast suggests, we are on a quest towards better understanding what it means to live that story out more meaningfully. And that's what my company, All Things Narrative, is dedicated to doing. It's a place where you can explore your story and the art of storytelling and the relationship between your life and the world of storytelling. And if that's something you're interested in, we have all kinds of ways that you can get involved with us at All Things Narrative, from events that we do locally in the South Florida area to workshops, classes, coaching for different projects, and many more things that I'm excited to announce in 2025. But if you would like to stay up to date with what we do at All Things Narrative, then I'd like to encourage you to sign up for our mailing list at the link in the description here. And when you do that, you will get a free bonus exclusive episode that has never been released before of this podcast called 5 Tips to Improve Your Storytelling. These are tips that I give to all my clients, and it really will help you take your understanding of storytelling and how to communicate your story more effectively to the next level. And so when you sign up for that, you will get a link to that episode. And you feel free to use those tips for whatever purposes you have, whether you want to get better at telling your story through speaking, writing, or for your own personal development. Go ahead and do that in the description so you can stay up to date with what we do here at All Things Narrative and how we could best serve you in your story and this next chapter we find ourselves in 2025. And now back to the conversation.
Jason, thank you for bringing this movie.
Yeah, as I'm talking about this, I like it.
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Where would you rate it now?
Yeah, it's not 3.5.
No, it's not.
between 4 and 4.5.
Ooh.
I can live with that.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, I've got a little kind of call to action at the end of
Yeah,
this.
go for
it. But do you guys have any last thoughts?
Nope.
All right. Hopefully you guys will listen to my urgings of pineapple, onion, and bacon pizza. Please give it a try. It's there. The flavors, the possibilities, endless things.
If you make it, I'll eat it.
No, it won't be like that.
I'm pointing at the door, audience.
So just to tie back into the I Am The Protagonist, I really feel Remy struggled to have that part of him accepted by his dad. I've had that. I'm still kind of going through that, and the Cloudy with Chance of Meatball really touched because my dad and I are trying to love each other in ways that we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, he's not like against me. Remy's dad's not against him. He wants his son to survive and live well. My dad wants that for me.
Yeah.
Pick jobs that pay good money because I want you to have a family and get the things you want in life.
Yeah.
That's what my dad wants.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at him not accepting me that I was rejecting that part of him.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad wants me to do what he wants. And I think one thing I would like is trust that the way that, one, I can figure things out, and two, that I'll be okay even if I choose something he doesn't agree with. And that's the tension that I'm having, and maybe you guys listening have that too. And I hope that gets, that there's resolution in that or a peace. And I'm just hoping that like this can help kind of place where you guys are all at in your lives and just who your identity is. And so that's what I'm going through. And I'm trying to take a step that Remy isn't. And I want to teach the linguinis how to teach or how to learn and do their own thing and come into their own artistry. So the call to action is what is your unique thing or way of seeing the world that is important? Is it being stifled? How are you living as an animal, or is there a way of life of grace that needs to be lived into?
Mm-hmm.
Are you criticizing? Is there criticism stopping you? And are you letting the next new artist surprise you?
Well, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Ratatouille and our I Am The Protagonist series. This actually concludes the series, so we will be back next month with a brand new series to start. And until next time,
don't just hork it down!
Thank you for listening to the Live a Meaningful Story podcast, produced by All Things Narrative. If you'd like to learn more about our coaching, workshops, events, please check out allthingsnarrative.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at All Things Narrative. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and tune in next time as we continue exploring the stories we love and the stories we live. Take care.